Hello YouTube! Today we have a gap and go where the market not only has one daily gap but two daily gaps, and this is very impressive because it gives us 4 days in a row where we close higher. We had 4 days going back in August, we had 4 days going back in July, we had 4 days, the last time before that it was quite some time. It was going all the way back to March of 2022, and then before that it goes all the way to October of 2021. Where we note that there are daily gaps on the chart. There's a gap below the 50, there's a gap above the 50, and there's a gap over it. So there are 3, and this is where there was a pretty nice melt higher. So the question for today going into tomorrow is, yes, there are gaps, and charts can leave gaps that eventually get filled. When? Could be a day, could be a week, could be a month, could be a year. So going back to October is the last time that we had more than 4 consecutive days where we close higher than the previous day. And now that we look at where we are now, there is a really important level. So let's delete some of this junk that got on here from the last time I was drawing, noting the times that we had more than 4 days. And what's really notable to me is when we look here to, again, we have a red line, and I got the feedback on the weekend. People like the red versus green. So we can note that we have a red downtrend, which just broke. So what does that mean? More bull evidence. Why? Well, we are above the green line and we broke the red lines and we're closing over the relative low at 410.64, which for me means that we gap and go twice. We're closing over the average. And right now there's pretty good momentum to the upside. The last time we had a move up to here is at 411.74. We look at today's high, 411.73. That is really close, but no cigar, which means that we are 1 cent from printing a double top, but 2 cents from printing a higher high. And what's so important about today is that as we go into tomorrow, we're going to get more feedback on our weekly chart. Our weekly chart right now is above the pink line, and the pink line shows that if we can claim it, we could shoot up all the way here to 420. And what would that be? That would be very similar to this now, where we have a big move down, a gap on the weekly, and then we just push down, exhaust. That could be the same thing we're going to do here. We're leaving a weekly gap. If tomorrow we hold the higher low and we print a higher high, which means we get above 411.73, what that implies to me is we're going for a test here. And we're already over the 50-day moving average. And if we're going to break the losing streak, meaning we've not been able to put in 5 in a row for I don't know how long October is from now. That's like, that's almost a year, right? Whoa! Yeah, it's been almost a year since we've had this much short-term momentum on the daily chart. And there's a lot of interesting stuff for us to go through. I don't want to confuse myself too much. So now that we understand what the potential for today versus tomorrow is, if we look here at our daily chart, which is important to note, that we closed above all the resistance, just like we noted on the 8th, on the 9th, and on the 10th. We are still in a kangaroo market. And we'll look at some news in a moment here from Apple, which gave us a little bit of steam, but it's more important for us to understand what the technical chart is telling us. And right now, the technical chart says that we are now breaking the downtrend on the daily. Oops, let's bring it back. And we're closing above. So for me, tomorrow, we print a daily higher high and hold the higher low. We're entering the weekly gap where now we can go up as high as 420. Is it a guarantee that we're going to go to 420? Oh, well, Justin said. No, but that's how we start getting closer to 420. On the flip side, if we don't print a high, if we print a lower high and a lower low, we're going for at least the first gap fill, which for us means backfilling 407.51. That's about a 1% move down for tomorrow. If we go all the way for a gap fill, reversing today's gains and getting us back to flat on the week. This is going to be very important because, as we all know, tomorrow we got CPI data, and that comes out pre-market, which means we're closing at the high. I think that this number is going to come in with a positive reaction, like I mentioned before. Is it going to be short-lived or long-lived? I don't know. But as we go into the first half of the week, into the second half, I think that as the momentum is building up here, I think there's a chance for us to shoot higher. And yes, as the incoming data changes, so does our perspective. If we now realize that last week we bounced off a green line, which was the gap backtest, or halfway between the high and the low, and now we're back above the next monthly low. 420.76 is the next stop. And that's also what? Oh my goodness. Don't tell me that. That is correct. It is a Fibonacci level. So we just bounced off the 0.38 area at 406.87 on Friday. And now we're looking for 420.83. It's like that math stuff is at play. And if we got up to about 420, that would be another test for the bears. So if we get to here, and every time we hit this downtrend or the red line, the bears have a chance to sell it. I'll be watching for the same thing to fulfill. Apple today told us that Apple rallies the most since May on strong iPhone pre-order data. It's the best performing mega cap stock so far this year. This is what really stuck out to me, and I think the people who bought the stock realized it too. Shares rallied the most since May as pre-order data showed the iPhone 14 Max was the best-selling model, surpassing what the older version did in similar time frame. Boom, most popular device ever for the biggest company in the world. That's kind of a big deal, because even Steve Jobs' daughter was joking about how the 13 to the 14 wasn't really much of an upgrade. Well, people are buying it, they're pre-ordering it, so let's see if it turns into more. But looking at the heat map, Apple led. Let's go here to the 1 day. Apple, which is a huge company, it was up 3.85%. That is nice. That is silky smooth. Amazon up, Tesla up. And Apple has now got one daily close over the 50, which means we're looking for 2 tomorrow. Meta back over the 50, Amazon over the 50, Tesla over the 50. Watching for Google and Microsoft to join as well. If we now look to the chart and ask ourselves, okay, so now we understand that the rally really started 1, 2, 3, 4 candles ago. So if we include 5 candles or the last 1 week, and we look at the heat map, this will tell us who's been leading the rally. So if this is it, and we're at peak fear, and we're going to get peace, and we're going to sing Kumbaya, and all these nice things, who is going to drag us up to the promised land? Tesla up 8, Amazon up 5, Nvidia up 3, Apple up 3. Every sector up. Consumer non-durable is not doing all that hot, but who cares? We don't trade any of those stonks, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, no thanks. Everything else here looks okay. So there's breadth, there's depth. It looks pretty healthy. Also a pretty strong snapback here from 44 on Friday up to 49 today, which means that we're right back to neutral. Into what? Likely the most important data point this week. We got CPI coming in hot at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow. Is it going to be bullish? Is it going to be bearish? Well, first of all, that depends on what the number is. We're expecting a contraction on both CPI and also on core and PPI the next day. And if that happens, I think that could be the signal people think we're at peak inflation. Peaking versus peaked. And then there's a big event on Thursday. I don't personally want to talk about it. I'm hoping for global peace. I got a feeling something might go sour, though. And then we got monthly Opex on Friday and quad witching, which means it's money time. And as we get closer to the end of the week, that'll be very interesting. As I look here as well, for option flows so far this week, I note that we got 7 out of 10 options are bullish. Sentiment is bullish, which means we have more than 2 times as many calls being bought than puts. And that's really notable. I'm not going to dive in too deep to read too much into the data, but these bulls showed up. And I'll go back and show this one more time. We'll have a look at the... actually, I think I forgot to talk about the dollar. We'll do that in a moment. But ask yourself, in hindsight, what could cause this? And is what we're seeing right now a pivotal point in the world? I think so. These 2 countries are going to be meeting later in the week. They decide to pull back. U.S. is the king. They bow and kiss the ring. Kumbaya, we go up, we go up. And then we have to see our final boss, Jerome, next Wednesday when he decides whether or not we advance to level 3 or we get declined to level 1. Meaning, are we now going to say that, hey, we're gonna cool off a little bit? Do they say we're gonna do the summary of economic projections higher? And now that we got some potential global peace, that gives us the okay to keep going higher. Apple's strong. People got money for iPhones. They got money to hold on. Or we just keep climbing the wall of worry until we find some resistance. And that's pretty much when we put in our high of the year. But being wrong the whole way up here was really painful for the bears. That's a big rally. And I remember because we made thumbnails about the wall of worry. So Apple gave us some good news today. Let's see if it leads into more, if it does, and we close higher than we opened. I would assume we're going to be above 412, which tells us that we're repeating something we haven't seen happen since October of 2021. That's pretty impressive. And with that said, I want to look at one last thing. And there was options that got paid out today. I don't really want to make the video too much longer by just looking at the options chain. Those got paid. Whoop! QQQ, 1 daily close over the 50. What would that mean? 2 or a green close tomorrow, or not even losing the low of the day. That's 2 daily closes over the 50. Apple, oh my goodness. It did a big power up today. If it can hold 161 tomorrow, that'll be 2 consecutive daily closes over the 50 and 200 DMA. The biggest stock, the most important sector, and the S&P will all be going up. We also have to take a note here that the dollar is also still above its 50 MA, and I'll be watching to see what happens here around the previous top. And again, the dollar going down means everything else kind of goes up. So is there going to be more? I'm not sure. Watching the dollar closely though. VIX up about 5% means some people are puckered up, right? They're puckering. Is it going to lead to anything? I don't know. There's always some fear. Let's make sure that the price action dictates what we think. And right now it's up. What else is up? 10-year note, a 2-year note. Oh yeah, they got the memo. I think they got the memo everyone else should have gotten today, but it doesn't really matter because market votes. We're getting relief. If this relief is going to turn into tomorrow, we will find out tomorrow at Tuesday at 8:30. And if you want to watch more about how I got prepared for this week in terms of the pressure releasing, and there was a big bounce, I encourage you to watch the video that'll queue up here in a moment. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I really look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you.